So in this land behind me, this is a degraded land, and that is the main mission of our project, is to restore degraded lands here in the cloud forest. So this is exactly what our land was, about 800 meters in that direction. We're going to go there later. This is exactly what our land looked like 6 years ago. And to the untrained eye, to someone who's just like out here looking at landscapes, it might be like, wow, it looks great. I mean, it's green, it's grassy, it's verdant, it's beautiful. Like, what is the problem? How is this a degraded landscape, right? Well, all degradation means is that a landscape has been taken down from what it's supposed to be, what nature wants it to be, what it would be if it was just here in nature, right? What it would be. And then some bad management, human intervention came along and took it down to another level. So those trees in the background, that's the remnants of the cloud forest that was actually here. This whole area was densely covered in trees, right? So number one, okay, so the trees are gone, but it's not just about trees, right? There's tree planting schemes, but it's not just about the trees. Why are the trees important? How does taking out the trees actually degrade the landscape? Well, when you take out the trees, you take out massive amounts of habitat. Number one, okay? You lose massive amounts of homes for the animals that live in those trees. The charismatic, colorful animals like the parrots and the toucans and the howler monkeys, even the jaguars, right? Where do they go when you take away their home? So when this land is converted, when it's logged and all the trees are taken out, it's converted to a cattle pasture. That's what we have now. You replace literally hundreds of thousands of species with just a few. We are in a World Wildlife Federation hotspot, one of the most biodiverse, but one of the most threatened places in the world. So we lose hundreds of thousands, literally thousands of species in tiny little areas, all living harmoniously on top of each other, are lost to have cows and a few animals that go along with the cows. Armadillos, some other birds, but it's really not much compared to what should be there. So a lot of these animals lose their homes. These animals are very important. They carry seeds. They carry pollen. They migrate long distances. They're very important to the overall balance of the ecosystem. The large birds that have nowhere to go when there's no tall trees to perch in, eagles, falcons, hawks, they're the apex predators of the system. What does that mean? They're at the top of the food chain. So when you don't have the top of the food chain, what's in the middle of the food chain, the rodents and the snakes, runs rampant. So you take away all of the harmonious balance of the ecosystem by taking away the homes for many of those animals. The trees themselves, number two, are vitally important because when you take out the trees, what we have here in a rainy season is like monsoon. I mean, it just comes barreling down from the sky. So the raindrops have no leaves to intercept them. There's no branches to soften the fall of the raindrops as they fall. So they hit the ground, there's a bum, 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 and it compacts the soil massively. So when you come out here and you try to plant, that's what you get. Like, you cannot even cut the ground with a very sharp shovel. It just, right? It just, that's it. It just does not go in, okay? So why is this a problem? Well, it's very difficult to plant in, but also all of the animals you can't see, all of the microscopic and the insect critters in the ground that rely on oxygen no longer have it because the ground has been beaten down by the force of those raindrops. So all of the life in the soil starts to die. And then when you try to put plants in the soil, like fruit trees, cacao, valuable things that you want to eat and trade and sell, they don't grow because all of that microscopic life in the soil that you need to get the nutrients to the plants has died. So that's another reason. So we've got loss of animal habitat, loss of the tree canopy, loss of life in the soil. And then, of course, there is overarching that, the huge human, social, and economic cost of that. All of this land that could be producing a very diverse food stream that local people could be relying on for food has now been replaced by one thing: cows to milk to sell the dairy. So the people become dependent on the income from the dairy, which isn't very much. It's actually a very, very, very low income prospect out here. And then they have to go into town and they have to buy less nutritious food. Okay, also the amount of employment that it generates is very low because it doesn't really take a whole lot of people to manage a cow herd. So we're reducing the amount of employment, and much more importantly, we're reducing the food security and the food sovereignty of the people who live here. Food sovereignty is when you can choose what it is that you eat. And so now you've taken away the choice. There's no oranges, there's no bananas, there's no plantains, there's no breadfruit, there's no jackfruit, there's none of these amazing nutritious tropical fruits growing here. They have to sell the dairy to make a living. And most of the time what you see people buying is things like rice and filler foods, very low nutrient, not nutrient dense filler carbohydrates. So this contributes to malnutrition and obesity worldwide. So huge costs going on here. So what we're bringing is a solution. So what we have to do is, if I come in here like I demonstrated and I just start planting trees, forget it. Most of them are going to die, which is the unfortunate truth of most big tree planting schemes, is that a lot of those trees die because the system hasn't followed the natural succession. So let's go into another plot and let's talk about that natural succession and how we work with nature to bring back nature.